get an email, they won't hear the sound.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Am I the right way?
You're
yeah. You're just rolling this morning, Jansen. You're sideways, man. You're gonna throw everybody for a loop.
Yeah, let me fix it.
Thank you for doing this for us. I'm so excited. This is like your first time to get to do one of these for us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and you're the fortunate guy that gets to do it on a Monday morning at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock in the morning.
We appreciate you. Hey, Chad Driskell, good morning.
There you go.
Hey.
That's good.
I'm gonna see if I can get my earbuds to work.
All right. That should be good.
Jansen, did you have a pretty good weekend, buddy?
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, it was good. Just kind of good family time, and it evaporated in a hurry, but it was nice.
Rainy weekend.
Yeah, we got to spend some time with some good friends of ours who live in Laurel that we haven't seen in a long time. So that was fun.
Oh, there's, good morning, Representative Goodin. He probably didn't have a, good morning.
Good morning.
He's still connecting the audio.
Good morning, Representative Goodin. How are you, sir?
I don't think he can hear us.
Dale, can you hear us, buddy? Not yet.
We're still working on, yeah, volume over there.
You may have to connect to your audio, Representative Goodin, because it said your audio didn't connect. Good morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good morning, Dale. Doing great, sir. Glad to have you.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on a rainy Monday morning at 8 o'clock.
Yes, sir. I'm just glad we didn't have wind and rain damage and more than we had. We are blessed.
Amen. Yeah, very much so. So are you guys heading up to Jackson later today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going back to Jackson today. We got to be up there this afternoon. We'll gavel in this afternoon and work. I think we're going to work from now on for the next 3 weeks.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you guys. It's been a wild and woolly year.
And being my first year, it's even more wild and woolly.
Yeah, right.
Well, we're gonna, we really appreciate y'all getting on here early for us because we do want to review just a couple of things so that everybody feels comfortable. And I don't know if this is the first panel discussion you've done through webinar and Zoom. It can feel a little awkward, but once you get started, it's actually, it flows pretty good. And so everybody's got those questions. I'm hoping that we will have our other folks joining us in the next couple minutes, and then we'll go over all the details.
Okay.
So
Yeah, Jansen to teach me all I need to know.
Hey, this is going to be like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Jansen's your lifeline over there.
That's exactly right.
Phone a friend.
I don't know the answer to that question, but Jansen does.
You know, we could do this thing where we flip it back over to the moderator to answer questions. Yeah, Driskell, you get to ask all the questions. That's a pretty good spot.
I've got an answer.
So Jansen, you have young kids, right, buddy? Are they sleeping right now, or what are they doing?
No, they ain't asleep. They ended up 6:20.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They're in the kitchen.
You'll see as they get older that they will go from waking up at 6:20 to you trying to drag them out of bed at noon.
Yep, you're exactly
My
right.
my Brooks, my youngest, who will be in the 10th grade this year, he thinks it's early if he gets up before noon during the summer, you know.
Poor baby. Poor
Jansen may have
baby.
to show us. Jansen may have to show us that deer collection behind him there.
Yeah, you got your
My father-in-law's. I'll let you see.
Oh, wow.
He's had a lot longer to rake up the deer than I have.
It's good.
How's that newest baby of yours, Jansen?
He's good. He's sleeping well. He's starting to coo and smile and stuff. So
Oh, how old is he now, Jansen?
he's 3 weeks.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
Just had him 3 weeks ago. Hey, Cal.
Did somebody say my name? I don't know why.
So
Yes.
Callison, I'm sure Larry's supposed to join us, right? He said
Yeah.
he was going to be able to, and then I know Percy told me that he was going to join us, but did we hear back from him at all since my telephone conversation with him?
No, sir. Todd is texting Senator Fillingane right now, and I just sent a text to Larry, Byrd, and Percy. So hopefully
Okay, great.
see them in there in the coming moments.
Awesome.
Otherwise, this will be meet your new legislators panel. Q&A.
You
Oh,
got it
there's,
right.
there's Representative Byrd.
You can't hear,
Can-
can you?
Email. I sent a request for those questions from my law firm email. I don't have access to my house email on my computer, and I want to have them in front of me.
Oh, I
If you
see.
could forward.
My house email on my phone. Okay. Yes.
I haven't seen the questions either. When were those sent out?
Last week a couple times, but I may need to. I
Okay.
have your house email. What's an email to shoot them over to you?
I think you sent them. I got 3 emails on June the 5th. You must have did it as an attachment.
Yes, sir. Do you want me to just copy it in an email body for you?
I think I may have it,
Okay.
Kelly.
Good morning, Representative Byrd and
Morning, Larry.
Watson.
Hey, good morning. I'm
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Morning, Percy. Appreciate y'all joining us this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Brother Percy, how are you this morning, sir?
How you doing, young man?
How are you, sir?
Oh, pretty good. We all connected.
Yeah, you know, who would have thunk it, you know? Legislative forum in June and all on virtual reality here. Hey, but you guys just roll up your sleeves and roll with it. I love it. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, we're waiting on Senator Fillingane, but until he gets here, I'm gonna go over just a few house rules and let you all know how the program is gonna flow. So we're gonna ask that you all silence your cell phone or silence any like Outlook or programs that you have that may make noises during the forum. So it's gonna start off with a welcome from Chad Newell, and he's gonna thank everyone for attending, and then he's going to thank all of our sponsors, and then he's gonna give an invocation. And once he does that, we're gonna bring up Chad Driskell, who's gonna be our moderator, and Chad is going to introduce each one of you all on the panel. So once he says your name, I'll ask you all to share your videos. Initially, you'll be muted and your video will be off. But once Chad mentions your name, you'll get a request to start your video. So at that time, just start your video for me. And then all of you all will be on the screen while he's asking questions. And at the end, once he asks his final questions, I will switch you all's videos off and mute you, and you all will be done. And then, yes.
Stancy, just to the panelists, instead of me introducing each of them, I'm going to let everybody make a 60 to 90 second opening statement and just let them introduce themselves and say what committees they're involved in and all that, and just so you'll be able to sort of introduce yourself, and I think that'll flow better. So if you'll just take, when I call your name, if you'll just take about 60 to 90 seconds and introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the questions. We'll just roll through that pretty quick. Thank you.
I think that's great. And like Stancy said, guys, right now you can see each other, so all of your cameras are live, and many of you have live mics as well. But once we actually broadcast this, it'll be just a little after 8. We'll kind of put you guys on silent. They won't see you and they won't hear you. And so when Chad introduces that first one, if it's Representative Byrd, you guys, there'll be a pop-up box that'll show up on your window, and it'll say the host is trying to start your video. And make sure you click start. Don't jump in with your remarks because they can't hear you or see you until you click that box. So that way, once he says your name, you'll get your pop-up and then click start video, and that'll be your opportunity to give your 60-second elevator pitch or whatever we're doing.
And I'll just
they'll select join with video, but they do not have to reselect join with computer audio or anything, right?
No, Stancy will be able to make sure that gets on.
And
Right. So don't worry about your audio. Just click that button that says, host is trying to allow you to join with computer video again.
And to make it simple, I'll just use the list on the agenda, which is, I guess, more or less alphabetical. So Fillingane first, and then Byrd, Goodin, Owen, and Watson. So we'll just use an alphabetical format. And if Senator Fillingane gets on, he can either go first or last. We'll see if he's with us at 8 when we start.
Hey, Calliston, did you and Stancy text or email Joey?
Todd was texting with him this morning, and he said he was almost to his office. So.
Oh, well, okay.
So
Got it.
He will make an appearance, but he might be jumping in there during sponsors. Who knows? But I know everyone's got a lot going on, so I'm just glad we can all be here.
Oh yeah. Right.
One other thing, and Stancy will be able to help you with this, but when you're not answering a question, once we get rolling, it's always good just to mute yourself, because it cuts down on that background noise, but the shuffling around and all of that. So that's just something to be mindful of, but Stancy can watch it as well. And I think that's really kind of the.
Would you please instruct me how I mute myself?
Yes, sir. Yes.
How do I mute?
You go ahead, Stancy.
It should be a button on your screen. You should see mute, and you should see stop video.
They're on the
screen.
left corner.
On the
Left
bottom
corner.
left corner. But I would like
Left corner.
Representative Watson, if you scroll, like if I scroll over my picture, it says mute.
Oh, it says, okay, mute.
Little blue button.
Blue button, I don't see that. But.
Representative Goodin, if you get your cursor and scroll over your picture, and it will pop up.
I see recording and a green, button and another with a little eye in it.
Yep,
I see mute. I got you.
So put your cursor, Dale. If you put it on your
That's it. I got you.
On your actual face, where you're.
Oh, okay.
And put your cursor on your face.
Yep.
I see it. Thank you.
And Stancy just had a good suggestion, because it's always good to practice. They're kind of two things. If in the upper right corner, you'll see where it says speaker view or gallery view. You can you can practice with that. That won't change anything for the audience, but that lets you can see everybody, or you can see one person. It's just whatever your preference. And then Stancy wants to do a little test practice. She's going to stop your videos, and then one by one, she's going to send you the prompt. And we want you to just push that button to start it again, so you get a little practice. So she's stopping your videos now, but we can still hear you. And then we'll get you started back up.
Okay, so everyone's video should be stopped. Representative Jansen, I'm gonna start yours, ask you to start your video now. Representative Larry Byrd, I'm gonna ask you to start your video. Representative Percy Watson, I'm gonna ask you to start yours. And Representative Goodin, I'm gonna ask you to start yours.
There you go. And there's Senator Fillingane. Good
morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Joey. Good morning, sir.
So I
I
run.
think his volume. Can we,
Can
Joey,
you-
can you speak? We want to make sure we can hear you.
Can't hear you yet.
Is your audio connected?
It should be. Can you hear me?
We hear you now.
Let you know.
Okay, great.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll go back over the flow for you, Senator Fillingane. So we're just going to ask that you silence your cell phone or any Outlook program that's on your computer. We're going to start. Chad Newell is going to give a welcome, and we're going to thank our sponsors and everyone for attending. And then he's going to give the invocation. After that, we're going to bring Chad Driskell up, and he's going to introduce you. And so you're going to introduce yourself. Chad is going to say your name, and then you're going to give like a short 60 to 90 second introduction of yourself. And then you'll all be on the screen for questions. And at the beginning, you'll be muted and your video will be off. But once Chad says your name, I'll ask you to start your video, and it will automatically unmute you. So.
Okay.
Okay.
I promise it's easier than it sounds or looks. You'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
You'll do great.
If I can do it, guys, anybody can.
Is anybody going to show up to hear us?
Well, this
Who
is what we're about
knows?
to do. We're going to turn everybody's cameras off, and we'll mute you too, so they won't hear you or see you. And then we'll start the broadcast, and it'll be Chad Newell up first. And then, like Stancy said, once Driskell introduces you guys, says your names one by one. Senator Fillingane, we're starting with you. He'll say, our first panelist is Senator Fillingane. We're going to start your video, and you'll introduce yourself, just 30 second, 60 second kind of introduction, and then we'll roll from there.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we're shutting you down. Hang there, and we're going to get this show started. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Good morning, guys. This is Chad Newell, President of the Area Development Partnership. Thanks for joining us on a Monday morning.
Chad, hold on one second. I'm about to broadcast this now. Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
All right, here we
Good morning, guys. My name is Chad Newell, President of the Area Development Partnership. Thank you so much for joining us on this rainy Monday morning for our second and final edition of the ADP's Legislative Forum, where good policy is great for business. None of us anticipated doing our second legislative forum in June. We were planning to do this in March. But obviously the good Lord had other plans for us with the pandemic. We are very grateful for all of our participants today, and certainly want to thank all of our attendees for joining us. And certainly we couldn't do these programs without our sponsors. So many thanks to Cooperative Energy, Forest Health, Infusion Plus, and South Group Insurance Services for being our sponsors of the Legislative Forum. The CEOs of those respective firms are so involved in our organization. Jeff Bowman and Andy Woodard and Ab Payne and Roman Gailey, they are very involved, either currently on the ADP board or former chairs of the ADP. So very grateful. Also, certainly want to thank our legislators for getting up early Monday before they have to gavel in Jackson this afternoon. So many thanks for you guys for joining us. And definitely want to thank Chad Driskell, our faithful moderator, for once again moderating the Legislative Forum. Chad's been doing this for us for several years now. Before I turn it over to Chad Driskell and before we hear from our legislators today on many important topics, I do want to start us out with an invocation. So please pray with me and bow with me. Dear God, we love you and give you all the credit and glory for everything that we have. During these turbulent times, you have shaken us to the core and have our full attention. God, we can do nothing without you and everything with you. As we navigate through these treacherous times, I pray that we just humbly bow before you, our Creator and Savior, and ask for your guidance, wisdom, and discernment. I pray that we are vulnerable as leaders and always exhibit sympathy and empathy in understanding someone else's plight. I lift up our legislators and pray that they approach their role with a servanthood leadership mentality. God, please guide us through this time of racial strife and lead us all to understand that these are matters of the heart. Lead us closer to you, which will lead us closer to each other. For it's in Jesus' holy and precious name that we pray. Amen. Chad Driskell, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chad Newell. And again, I want to welcome all of our guests and participants this morning. We can't have quality ADP programming without the participation of the members. At this time, I'm going to ask our distinguished panel of legislators to give a brief introduction of themselves, and so you can understand the committees they serve on and a little bit more about them. And we'll do that, give everybody about 60 to 90 seconds to do that before we step into the questions. So again, we'll start with Senator Fillingane first, and then move alphabetically through our representatives. Senator Fillingane.
Good morning, Chad. Thank you for having us both Chads this morning. I really appreciate it. Obviously, I have had the honor and privilege of serving in the state legislature for 21 years now. Started in the state house representing the Oak Grove and Summerall areas of Lamar County for about 7 years, and then moved over to the state senate. And as Chad just said, we are still in our ongoing legislative session. Due to the coronavirus, we took about a 2-month break. We've been back and forth a bit since then, but I currently have the pleasure of serving as the Highways and Transportation's chair, and I'm the Universities and Colleges vice chair, and then serve on finance and public health and a whole host of other committees. So it's just an honor to be here this morning, and glad the storm didn't do any more damage than it did.
Thank you very much. Representative Byrd.
We'll try that.
Good morning.
Good morning. You have me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Trying to, I'm doing this on the iPhone. So anyway, Representative Larry Byrd. I represent House District 104, which is East Forest County. My first year in the legislature was 2000. I was elected in 07. First year was 08. So I've served continuously since 2008. I'm currently chairman of County Affairs, a very important committee. And I serve on several others: agriculture, energy, education, management, transportation, and ways and means. So thank you to ADP, and thank you, Chad, for hosting us. And I look forward to what we have in store for us today.
Great. We'll move now to the first of our two new members, Representative Dale Goodin.
Good morning, Chad and Chad. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, I am the new kid on the block, so y'all be nice to me. Especially you, Joey. No, I'm kidding, Joey. Chad, just thank you for having me. I have learned a lot this first year. It's been, as you say, we get a chance to learn by the fire hose. Well, instead of the water hose, I've had the fire hose. And it's been quite an experience. Committees I'm serving on, corrections is a biggie right now. Lots of money involved there, a lot of changes happening. It's just really exciting to see the changes that's trying to take place. Workforce development, a lot of things happening there. Really enjoy that. That's kind of part of my background. Represent District 105, the great counties of Perry, Greene, and George County. Before that, I was the VOTEC director for Perry County Schools here in Perry County. I'm also a retired Army and Navy veteran, almost 40 years there, USM graduate, go Eagles. Thank y'all for having me today. As I say, I've got a lot to learn. And as my grandpa would tell me, you can't learn anything if your mouth is open. Hey, so I'm going to sit back and listen a lot here and hear what these veterans have to say. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being with us, and thank you for your service. And we'll move on to Representative Jansen Owen. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. I am a new member like Mr. Dale. I'm really the new kid on the block. I represent Pearl River and Lamar counties, which is District 106 in the House of Representatives. I serve on Judd B, Transportation, Agriculture, County Affairs, Elections, and Youth and Family Affairs. This first session has been an interesting time to join the party, but it's given us all a good opportunity to kind of, I guess, learn by working. So we've used rules, I think, in both chambers that haven't been used ever. We've seen the parliamentarian process work in unique ways and fun ways. So while COVID's kind of thrown a wrench in everything, it has provided a good opportunity for us new members to kind of see an extended way of how the session could work. And again, thank you guys for allowing me to be here. And I'm going to do like Dale and sit back and listen a little bit and maybe throw some input in here and there.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you being with us this morning. And now we'll move to Representative Percy Watson, who is probably, if I add all of your service up together, I don't know if you reach Chairman Watson's distinguished number of years. So Chairman Watson, we're delighted to have you with us this morning. And at this time, I'll ask you to say a few opening words.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this opportunity to meet with you all, my colleagues, and the many people who we represent here in the Hattiesburg, Lamar County area. This is my 11th term in the Mississippi legislature, the Mississippi House of Representatives. I represent District 103 in the House of Representatives. Up to this point, I thought that I had actually seen just about everything in the legislative process, but we really, as all of you all know, we've really thrown a curve this year. We started the session the beginning of January, and we actually suspended the session on March the 17th and resumed the session about 2 weeks ago. I have the honor of serving on the Appropriations Committee, Judiciary Aid Committee, Utilities Committee, Banking Committee, and I'm also a member of the Peer Committee and the Legislative Budget Committee. We have this year, as we've had in previous years, many challenges, but this year we have, of course, an unprecedented challenge with the coronavirus. And this probably will take our attention, whether we're in session, in special session, or extended session, probably for the remainder of this year. Again, I congratulate all of my colleagues on their reelection to the Mississippi legislature, and I look forward to working with each of you and as well as the ADP leadership during this session.
Thank you very much, Chairman Watson. We appreciate your opening comments. And you alluded to the fact that we are in unprecedented times, and this unprecedented pandemic has led to an unprecedented economic downturn. We were all, as you all gavelled in January, many of us all across the state, public sector and private sector, were very optimistic about a state budget that was growing, and we're growing because of our businesses are doing well and because of our individuals are doing well. And people are spending money. And then we, as you put it, Chairman Watson, we took a 2-month pause. And not only did the legislature take a 2-month pause, but it seems that everyone took a 2-month pause. We know the state economist has said that this recession may be prolonged. And so I'd like to sorry, y'all still there? I was getting a phone call. I'm on my iPad and I was getting a phone call in the middle of this. So what I'd like to do is start with you, Chairman Watson, and we'll sort of work backward. And if you will, give us your thoughts on what what your experience and your years of service tell us about the Mississippi economy and how you see this recovery may begin. And of course, you're very involved in the appropriations process as well.
Well, again, I say we are, as you indicate, we are facing unprecedented times. And during the month of April, we took a $244 million cut short in our budget. And then, of course, this month, I understand that we're approaching 40+ million. So we're just going to have to approach this thing in a very comprehensive and a very thorough sense, and understand that we may actually, looking into the future, suffer as much as a $1.2 billion shortfall as a result of the pandemic. So we're going to have to look at each and every budget that comes before the legislature and do the best that we can with the available resources that we will have. We, of course, hope that the situation will improve with the money that has been put into the economy, primarily by the federal government, and that we will be able to end these restrictions that we have, these shutdowns that we have, and that we will be able to fund all areas of government as adequately as we can with the available resources that we have.
Thank you. I'll turn now to Representative Owen. If you've got anything you'd like to add about I'm sure you've came to the legislature in hopes of a great economy, and you're going to be able to lots of conversations about different projects to be funded out there, and now you've got stark reality.
Right. Well, revenue, I think we were riding high on one of the best economic times in recent memory until March 12th. And that's how quickly it changed, almost overnight. We're going to be looking at budget cuts. That's what people have talked about for the past couple of weeks. Revenues are down pretty historically. And when we're talking about budget cuts, I'm of the opinion we need to be prioritizing our spending. We need to be making sure we're spending, infrastructure, public health and safety, and education. And then outside of that, we really need to think hard and long about what we need to be spending the people's money on right now. As far as what we need to do to help our private sector guys, we need to make sure that the government, the government's out of their way. They're having a hard enough time. They've been forced to shut down by the government and this pandemic for 2 months now. We need to make sure that we can do everything we can to get out of their way and let them do their best to recover. If we can give them help, do it. But as far as burdening them with additional regulations or unnecessary lawsuits or any of that mess, we need to make sure that our private sector guys are able to fight to survive post-COVID. So,
thank you. Representative Goodin, you want to add anything to this conversation?
Don't ever ask a politician if he wants to add anything to the conversation, because they'll talk you to death if you let them. I think we got some hard decisions to make, not only in next year's budget, but this year's also, because there are going to be shortfalls in this year that we're going to deal with, and then we're going to have to deal with next year and shortfalls there. And yes, we do have the rainy day fund, but I think we have to be judicious on how we attack that and see what we have to do. But I think a conservative approach with our funding would be the best way to go. I think as the cut that Jansen talked about, and then we're going to have $1.2 billion shortfall. I think that's historic. Have we ever seen that before? I'm not sure if we have or not. So it's something we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to come together as a legislature, Senate, and the House are going to have to come together to do some things, to agree on some things, to make things happen. And I think we got the guys in place that will make that happen. And Joey is certainly going to be helpful in that process. And Percy's going to be helpful in that process too. And I just think we're going to have to just come together for the people of this great state and do what we have to do to help them. As Jansen said, we got to help people. Our job is to help people get back on their feet. Unemployment, for one, that's coming along. It's getting straightened out. That process has got to get online, so we can help those people out there that have to come. And we have to work with the federal folks too to make sure that they know what we need here in our state. And I think that we do a pretty good job of that. But overall, we got to help those people that are less fortunate than us. All of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Byrd, as we turn to you, I know you're always working because you keep an eye on the county affairs situation closely. And I'm sure you were thinking that this budget would yield money for our rural fire truck program and for some other programs that are very important to Mississippians. So as you talk a little bit about the looming state budget and the sort of the gray cloud, talk a little bit about how it could affect programs that maybe not be as out front as public education or, things, but things like the fire truck program that, will definitely be, under the gun.
Right. We've been fortunate to be able to fund the rural fire truck program for the last 2 years through wind pool funds that when we have reached a cap of 10 million, then we, through the insurance commissioner, and it's worked very well. I just feel like we may be able to continue that, and that method. We've have legislation introduced. If we can get back to work and get it all the way through, that'll provide for that mechanism for that to operate. So that'll be well. So I'm not terribly concerned about rural fire. We've local bridges also, we're going to take a little hit on our local bridge program. We've got some mechanisms in place that's going to help it, and one being the internet sales tax or use tax diversion to the local bridge program, rehabilitation replacement bridge program. That eventually that program will be funded at our $20 million a year that we hope for, plus more, through the internet sales tax or use tax, and not just internet. But to date, we're not there. We're hopefully we thought we were going to get 10 million out of that this budget cycle. We may not now, but we may, because there are more people at home, more people shopping online, and so that revenue stream goes into that those programs. We did the same thing for the counties and cities by giving them each 15% of this internet sales tax or use tax. That's going to help. So I think that because of internet sales, we're going to be pretty good on those areas. Where we have really problems with counties and municipalities especially is that local sales tax revenues are down. Counties don't benefit from that, but municipalities do. But so going forward, and counties pretty much have their money in place by March as a property tax. The lion's share of their revenue comes in as property taxes are paid. And so they've set their budgets based on that. But what we have now is additional expenses that were unanticipated due to COVID, where you've had to make some capital expenditures that were not in your budget, and you've had some expenses that you didn't budget for either. And the CARES Act is going to help address that But we have, as a legislature, have got to get to work again. I have legislation in the process that will set up a program to allow them to apply for reimbursement for these areas. It cannot replace a lost revenue stream, but it can fill where you've had to spend extra dollars that were unbudgeted. So, we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. It's an exciting time, actually, to, is it reminiscent of 2010? I don't know. we're facing, it's nice. It was nice to have a good supply of revenue for about a year and a half, wasn't it? So I'd like to relive in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Senator Fillingane, as we turn to you to sort of cap off this conversation about the budget, because of your experience, and of course, Chairman Watson's got similar experience, finance, ways and means, leadership throughout your history. The Department of Revenue pushed forward, I guess they were able to do this administratively, pushed forward into basically the next fiscal year when a lot of corporate and personal income tax will be due. And so I would be interested, and obviously what that does is it moves your liquidity into the next fiscal year. And then there's got to be, I guess, a number sort of agreed to as to what you could budget on. So just a few, as you talk about your thoughts about the budget, if you could, maybe give us your opinion on that, or kind of how that you hear conversations about how that may play out.
Again, Chad, and it's always good to be with my colleagues, especially Chairman Watson, who's the dean of our Pinebelt delegation. He's very wise and has lots of great experience that we draw on a lot. I will tell you that the upside of this glass is half empty or half full is that May really wasn't nearly as bad as a lot of people were predicting. I was looking at the revenues that the report that came in, and we were down about 5.3%. But as you'll recall, people had been thinking we might be down, 20 or 30% in the month of May. So of course we do have challenges, but I think it speaks to how resilient our citizens are. People are anxious to get back to work. We did have to take essentially a 7-8 week pause due to no fault of our own, and the businesses were doing extremely well. I mean, we had the lowest unemployment, I believe, in recorded history about 8 weeks ago. And then, as the president said, we've had to all shut everything down on purpose for our public health. And of course, that was the right thing, I believe, to do. But people aren't just sitting around because there's no work to do. People are anxious to get back to work. I'm traveling up and on the Party Street Friday and Saturday, and I can tell you a lot of people are out and about. I tried to eat at one of our local restaurants and had to wait in line, which I did not mind doing because I think it was a great sign that people are anxious to get back out and start spending some money and juicing the economy. We do have a rainy day fund, as you all know. It's got about $520 or $30 million in it right now. And I think anyone who thinks that it's not raining in this coronavirus situation isn't paying attention. I think this is exactly why we have sort of an emergency stopgap fund, and not that we want to use it all, in 1 year, because we know this is going to be a prolonged issue over a couple of fiscal years. But certainly we've been wise and prudent, I think, in putting aside 2% of our revenues for just such an event like this or a hurricane. And thank God Cristobal was not that big of an event, but all over the meteorologists are predicting a very active hurricane season this year. So we certainly need to keep that in mind. But again, the national outlook as of Friday, the stock market boomed because 2.5 million people went back to work. Our unemployment rate nationally actually dropped from 14% down to about 13%, when all of the prognosticators were predicting that it was going to skyrocket up to 20%. So that just tells you the experts don't always know exactly what's going to go on. But you're right. I think the federal government and then the state followed in extending the filing dates for your income taxes from April on out to July. So a lot of the money that would have already been turned in by now probably won't creep into the budget until June and then July. And so, of course, the fiscal year starts July the 1st. Some of those dollars would have been realized in this fiscal year, won't be realized actually until next fiscal year. And so it'll be interesting, but that's why we have the rainy day fund to draw from perhaps this year some if we need to fill some budget holes. And then, as Representative Byrd said and others, we have the $1.25 billion in CARES Act federal money. And there's, of course, even discussion of additional federal dollars in relief for states and municipalities. So we'll see if that materializes. But I think the takeaway is that we all are obviously going to have some shortfalls in this fiscal budget, and we're going to have to tighten our belts. And I know belts have been tightened a lot, so we really don't have a lot of fat out there. If we start cutting, it's going to actually mean positions and jobs as opposed to just travel and those sorts of things. So we're going to try to avoid as much of that as possible, of course, but we would be less than honest, I think, if we didn't say that we've got a tight fiscal year ahead of us.
Absolutely, no question. A lot of businesses are looking at making changes. A lot of public entities, large public entities, like the one that I'm associated with, we're all looking and waiting to make responsible decisions when we get the information that we'll all need to make those decisions. So several of you alluded to the matter that consumed a lot of your time and consumed a lot of public airways during the the 7-week break or so, and that's the $1.25 billion CARES Act money that came to the state of Mississippi to benefit the state. And so many of us, heard the back and forth between the governor, the legislature, and now y'all have put different programs in place. And so I know there's money available for small business grants, and there's different buckets of money that you all have identified. I believe there's even a bucket that the governor has discretion over. And then there has to be an administrator of that money. I think MDA is at least in some part an administrator of that money. So would be interested, you can just sort of give me the hand up or wave at me. Would be interested if any of you have sort of thoughts on the $1 billion+ because that is an unprecedented sum, and sort of how you've sort of done that. So I'll throw that out if anybody wants to sort of jump in on that. Any takers? Larry? Hold on, let them turn you on. Representative Byrd. There you go.
Okay, good deal. Well, the CARES Act money can very narrowly be spent. It must be tied directly to COVID expenditures, and that's there. And so we've had joint hearings with the municipal chair of the municipalities committee and the county affairs committees have both met. And chairman of municipalities on the House side, Randy Rushing, and I have been working together to gather information about how much money do we need to make municipalities and counties whole as far as COVID expenses and those allowable expenses, because like I said, it's very narrow right now under the structure of the CARES Act. The money can only be used to reimburse directly related expenditures, directly related to the management of COVID, and also any unbudgeted, unanticipated capital expenditures as far as equipment. You may have to have a new printer or extend a lease you was not going to extend, those kind of things. Anyway, we've reached out and gathered information from the Mississippi Association of Supervisors and the Municipal League, and we're right at about $65 million that we think would qualify for reimbursement. Of course, these funds have to meet an audit. And we're hoping that our legislation will allow for the Department of Revenue to be the go-to source to make application. DFA, Finance Administration, make application, but these application forms have to be approved by the state auditor in advance so that we don't get caught up in a bad situation later where we've allowed some of this $1.25 billion to go to expenditures of unqualified. So anyway, we're working on that, and so but that's just a crumb, just a little crumb off of this 1.25 billion. What are we going to do with the rest of it? I don't really know. We've already obligated some 300 million for small businesses, and so as we move forward, that I don't know. But my focus is on county government, and so that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Mr. Watson, did you want to did you want to speak on this matter?
Yes, sir. Basically, money is circulating. More money is actually circulating in our community now. And those of us who are in business, we can feel it. Many people who wanted to do certain things that they could not do before the virus, they're able to do it this time. They got the time to do it. And for the most part, they have, they may have actually more money to do it. In that small business grant in the first appropriation of the $300 million, some of that money is already being received by our constituents. That money is being received, and with the PPP, has enabled many businesses to reopen at least partially in our community. The thing I guess I would want to comment on, though, is what the coronavirus has done is made it more difficult for us as legislators to do our job, because we have to be very careful in how we assemble and how we congregate and address the policy issues in the state capitol, because we certainly don't want to be victims of the virus ourselves. So that has been somewhat difficult, but as Chairman Fillingane has indicated, and other legislators have said, basically, as bad as it is, there is some good in what we are going through. It certainly makes us look at our current fiscal situation in a different manner, and it does put us in a position where, because of the rainy day fund and basically the manner in which we have appropriated money in the past, has put us in a position where we're certainly survive what we are going through. And I think it's very important that we do remind everybody who might be listening to or participating in this Zoom presentation that the small business grant is actually being fine-tuned right now, and may actually open up the application process in the next few days. So we have many opportunities that have been developed as a result of the coronavirus. And I'm just hoping that we will be able to do our jobs in Jackson, because we have been hindered in the past. And just to be able to concentrate on the issues that are before you is something that we need to do.
Thank you. Senator Fillingane, were you going to say something earlier, or did you?
Have
I'm gonna
time.
let you. There you go.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Chad. So, we split the first $300 million up into a couple different pots. The first pot, which is about $60 million, is going to generate $2,000 relief checks. They're going to be based on tax code. So if you fall into certain categories like, cosmetologists, barbers, small business folks who really didn't, for the most part, qualify for the PPP federal stimulus program, you're just going to get sent, based on your income tax filing previous years, a $2,000 check, and those are being sent out with the cooperation of course, the Department of Revenue and the DFA. The second pot of the money, the $240 million, is going to be put into a back to business or back to work type grant fund that the Mississippi Development Authority is going to be overseeing and processing. I've talked with John Runceville, the interim director that the governor's appointed over Mississippi Development Authority, within the last 72 hours, and he assures me that within the next couple of days, that grant portal is going to be opened on the MDA website. And you can already go, even though it's not active yet, and store your email address so that when it is activated, you'll get an email from the MDA. So just, Google Mississippi Development Authority and go to their site, and it's already there, a collection of email addresses. If you're interested in that grant program, it's going to be up to $25,000 based on, certain criteria, expenses that you were out during the 8 or 10 weeks of the coronavirus pandemic. And then what I hope we can do with a good portion of what's remaining in the $1.25 million after our hospitals and our universities and community colleges are made whole from some of their direct expenses due to the coronavirus, is to work on a rural broadband, because you've got a large swath of Mississippi that doesn't have any Wi-Fi access. There's just no connectivity out there. So even if you have the device like a laptop or iPhone or iPad or anything like that, if you can't jump on the internet because it's not available, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So I'm hopeful that we can incentivize our local EPAs that we authorized a session or two ago to get into the Wi-Fi and broadband business, to be able to incentivize them to start offering that to more and more of their customers and their ratepayers out in the rural areas. Because if we're going to have to do distance learning like we did the last couple of months of this school year, and of course it could come back in some form or fashion this fall, we need to have the ability to allow our students to jump online and continue their studies. As well, it helps with telehealth and then obviously economic development, because most companies these days need some form of Wi-Fi connectivity to conduct business. So my hope is that this $1.25 billion can be wisely spent. And I think rural broadband would be a really great investment for our state.
Thank you for that. You sort of touched on a couple of the topics that we were going to move to, and I see Representative Goodin nodding his head about rural broadband and some of those issues. So Representative Goodin, I'll move to you at this point, and sort of you can talk about the budget, or if rural broadband is one of the issues that you're interested in. We were definitely going to try to cover that this morning. So go ahead.
Rural broadband. I just went and spoke to Dixie Electric a few days ago, and they sat down with me and gave me a presentation of what they're going to do if we give them some funding, not only them, but several of the EPAs. I think they're asking for $75 million. It's several of the EPAs, and it's kind of a 50-50 split is what they tell me. 50% of their money, 50% of the public's money here. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the rural broadband out there, and they're starting out, and they're kind of starting out in Jones and Perry County, and some of the other EPAs are also got their plan. But they sat down and showed me their plan. They have it on paper. They're ready to go. They just need our help in the legislature to make this thing a go. And what I like, and they like it too, they have skin in the game too. So about 50% public money, 50% of theirs. So I think we need to really look hard at that and help those folks, help the EPAs out and fund them, and let's get this thing going, because it's like we have some big plans in some other areas to get devices out to all children. Well, that's a great idea, but if they don't have any internet access, what good is that device that we're going to spend a lot of money for to get out there to those children? It doesn't help the child. So if we could put more funding into the broadband and help these EPAs as they electrified America, they can also help us to get that broadband out there. Every place that there's a pole and there's electricity has the opportunity to also have an internet connection. And I think if we get behind that, the state, the federal, if we get behind that and help that, we really need to help those kids that don't have that access. And that's a lot of our kids in this state. You see different things. There's 40%, there's 44%, there's quite a bit. So we really need to work on that, I think, to get that done, to help them. And they got some great plans. I mean, they've got their equipment plans. They know exactly what to do. And the big thing is, I was a technology director in my previous life, and they've got to build out the backbone. They got to build out the backbone. That costs money. And I think if we help them to get access out there that is affordable, they have affordable packages that they're talking about. They've got a lot of people involved across the state. And so I think that'd be a great thing for us to economically help our kids, educationally help our kids, and plus give them the opportunity that every child in this state, whether it be rural or in the city, they have an opportunity for internet access, because that brings opportunity for those kids. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. We face that obviously when we transitioned Southern Miss to completely online at the end of the semester.
Yes, sir.
We probably granted 200 to 250 exemptions of residential students and allowed them to stay in the residence halls because they demonstrated they did not have access to sufficient broadband technologies wherever they lived.
Great point, sir.
And
Great
so
point.
we understand that. Representative Jansen Owen, we'll move to you now. Looks like you've got some help there joining you. So if you want to talk about rural broadband or the budget, some of these issues we've been batting around here, we'll turn to you, sir.
Yeah, I agree with Joey and Dale about the need to expand rural broadband. Dale's real focused on education, but I see it not only as an education enhancement, but also, an economic driver. The economy is in internet today. That's the future of the economy. That's how people are making money left and right. Expanding broadband access is expanding the ability for people to make money. So I 100% support that. I want to make sure, as Joey said, we spend the remaining portion of this money wisely. I'd like to see as much of it possible go to the private sector. That's the people who are hurting. Our government shut them down. Say hey to everybody real quick. This is Darby. Say hey, wave.
That's you've almost got an unfair advantage on these other guys.
Yeah, right. But yeah, private sector, focus on that, and we'll see where we go from there. I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you very much. And Darby, it's great to see you up and out on this morning. Look forward to your contribution to the community in the years to come. Let's turn now, as we got about 10 minutes or so left. We couldn't have a conversation unless we really talk about our local healthcare community. As you all know, we've got about 9,000 healthcare employees in our community, as our community sort of, the multiple counties that our healthcare community serves. And we know, because we all have friends and relatives that work in the different areas of healthcare, that they've really been under the gun. First of all, they've been on the front lines taking care of our community, but also economically, it's been a challenge for them. So I want y'all to have the opportunity to speak a little bit about that and some of the ways the CARES money can help that. So I'll give our two new guys first shot at that if they want to have any comments on that. So Representative Owen, you got any healthcare comments you want to throw at us?
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, those guys have been on the front lines. We have to make sure they're funded and that they're not left in the ditch to deal with everything as we move forward. I've heard some rumblings that the feds are wanting to pass some additional legislation to provide, more money, particularly to the hospitals and the rural hospitals who've been pretty hard hit by the virus. Those are just rumblings right now. The only place harder to get anything done besides Jackson is Washington, D.C. So I imagine it's going to be a little bit of work for them. But focus on making sure our hospitals and our rural healthcare providers are going to make it through this is going to be really important to me. As far as what that's going to look like, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. I'll just move across my screen here to Chairman Watson. I know you've watched the healthcare community grow and expand in Hattiesburg, and it's helped to be a driver. So what are your thoughts about kind of the situation they're in? We don't have you. There you go. We don't have your sound yet. Percy, we can't hear you. Stancy, can y'all unmute him? Well, we still don't get you. All right, let's move to Percy, we'll come back to you in just a second. Dale, you got any thoughts about the healthcare community?
Yes, sir. We got 3 rural hospitals out here, Greene County, George County, and Perry County. And I'm not saying that they're the only ones that have been hurt. Our main hospital, as far as general and also our other hospital there, has been hard hit. Also, I know it's unbelievable in these times. They're actually having to lay folks off. That is just unbelievable to me. But because of things that are happening, with the COVID, they just didn't have the revenues to keep folks on. So the thing is, we got to get those hospitals back up and going, and they generate a lot of jobs, as y'all well know, not only there in the Hattiesburg Pedal area, but also out here in the rural areas. Good jobs, and we got to get those back going again.
Yes, absolutely. It's hard to believe during this time when healthcare is so important that we're, laying off folks and all that. So, all right, let's see if we can get, there we go, Percy. I'll turn back to you now, and we're still on the healthcare subject.
All right, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
A former governor said when you go through a hurricane, a tornado, or any type of anything unprecedented like this, you really want to return the healthcare system to a better position than it was before the pandemic. And I'm hopeful that as we go through this process, that we'll be able to find more resources, whether they're at the local level, the state level, or the federal level, in order to better enhance our delivery of healthcare. As you all know, we provide healthcare for a number of counties in the South Central Mississippi area. And I'm just hopeful that with the understanding that this is going to require more of our time in order to make these decisions, that we can put more resources in the healthcare system here in this area.
Well said. Well said. We need to leverage these investments. Larry, you want to comment about the healthcare community? And there we go.
All right. Well, my thoughts on it are that we do have a lot of federal dollars coming our way. We need to maximize those dollars. We need to go ahead and get programs in place to start allowing some of this money to funnel through rural health and through our rural hospitals and the major hospitals. So, I mean, we have resources available, but we as a legislature, as Representative Watson has already mentioned, we've been affected by this COVID also. In as much as we haven't been able to work as efficiently as we normally would, and our legislative process has been stalled to some degree, and we're just working at a slower pace trying to get things done. I don't know how we're going to overcome that, as we're doing what we can under the circumstances, but there will be funds, and there are funds available. It's just that these Rural Health Initiative, the Hospital Association, other entities have to get together through our public health committees, and let's design some things that will help us reach into that federal dollars that are there waiting for us now. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm all for doing whatever we can to help, because the money's there, and it's deserved. They deserve to get made better because of this. As the president calls it, the invisible enemy.
Senator Fillingane, last word on this as we begin to wrap up this talk show. We can't hear you. Hit your mute button. There you go.
Are we here? Okay.
Yep. There you go.
I first want to start off that part by thanking our healthcare heroes, because while we were all hunkered down doing the best we could to protect ourselves, people like my niece and nephew who are RNs were out there in the ICUs and in the force generals trying to take care of all the ones who had fallen ill. So first and foremost, I want to thank them and our law enforcement for being out and about when the rest of us had the luxury of staying indoors and not getting out. But I think Representative Percy Watson and Larry Byrd said it correctly. Most people don't think about the fact that our hospitals and our healthcare providers really only make money on the elective procedures, and all those were shut down. You lose money on ER and ICU units. You don't make money on those things. So when everyone else was told to stay home and not come and get their knee replacement or their Botox injection or whatever they were getting, the hospitals, our doctors, our clinicians, our nurses, they were all either furloughed or losing money left and right. So there are some federal dollars that went directly to our healthcare friends to purchase things like personal protective equipment and things of that nature. But a lot of it did not allow for being spent for lost income and lost revenue. So there's clearly a need there. And I think the most important thing we can do is allow them to get back to work, because these men and women know how to make money, and they do it very well when they're allowed to practice their trade. But they weren't for about 10 weeks. So I think most of them are now getting back into the economy and doing those things. And the other thing, the healthcare disparity issue that I would raise is that, you know, this virus is non-discriminatory on who it attacks, but our friends in the African-American community and Hispanic community really have been hit way harder than the rest of us. And there's a whole series of reasons and arguments as to why that is, but the numbers don't lie. Mississippi is comprised of about 37 to 38% African-American population. And the latest figures that came out in our hearing in the Public Health Committee in the Senate last week with Dr. Thomas Dobbs, who has done an amazing job, shows that about 61 to 62% of all positive COVID-19 cases have been in the African-American community, as well as a majority of the COVID-19 related deaths. So we don't need to let that go by without acknowledging that there's a lot of work to be done in getting access to healthcare out there in all parts of Mississippi, rural and urban. But certainly our friends in the African-American and Hispanic communities need some additional help, because they have some situations with comorbidities and things of that nature that have made them more susceptible to bad outcomes, not necessarily more susceptible to the virus itself, but once you catch the virus, more susceptible to having a bad health outcome. And we need to be mindful of that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's clearly and has been for a long time health disparities in Mississippi. Just like we have technology disparities in Mississippi, we have, we're still an agriculture economy sort of at our core that's evolving. And so we really appreciate the insight that all of you bring this morning. On behalf of the ADP, I want to thank you all for your leadership and for putting yourselves out there and for going to Jackson and representing our community. It's imperative that we have qualified, honest, hardworking folks representing our community. And we're really blessed in the Pinebelt to have not only the five of you, but your colleagues that aren't represented this morning in Jackson representing our community. And so I want to thank you for your service. And of course, as one of you said, you really are sort of putting yourselves in some, interesting times as you gather in a building with 174 of you, the total of the House and the Senate, and you are bringing, your germs from all corners of the state. And so, so please be careful up there. Please continue to do all the things Dr. Dobbs tells us to do every day. So at this point, I will let Chad Newell wrap up the show. And I've enjoyed being able to participate in this format with all of you. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
It's not showing on the screen. Sorry.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all very much.
Okay, guys, sorry about that little technical snafu. Hey, I just want to thank Chad Driskell for moderating today, and many thanks to our legislators. You guys do an amazing job for us in Jackson, and you're always available. I've been communicating with several of you just in the last week on some bills that are pending in the legislature. And, quick funny story, Senator Fillingane, I was thinking about you mentioning telehealth. I had my mom had her first telehealth conversation with me last night. So my 77-year-old mom, who we call Mimi, lives with us. And she said, Chad, hey, I have a telehealth appointment this week. I said, okay, Mimi, do you know what to do? She said, not really. I said, okay, they're just going to call you on your phone on FaceTime. And she said, okay, call me and let me make sure I know how to work this technology. So telehealth can even be a little bit intimidating, but that's pretty cool that that's available. It was certainly important pre-COVID, and now with the pandemic, telehealth is going to be of even more paramount importance. On a couple of just brief comments on our economy. While our economy has been rocked, it's been hit hard here in the Pinebelt, it has not been pummeled because we have such a great diverse economy with healthcare, education, military, manufacturing, and the service sector. And I will say, I never really thought that I would say that in the month of April that an 11.6% unemployment rate is good. But that was a good unemployment rate considering that the state of Mississippi was at 15.6%. So in the last 5 years, we tracked 6,000 jobs and 1.7 billion in CapEx, and our unemployment rate was hovering around 4.5%. So for it to spike to 11.6%, we've got a lot of work to do to get it back down. But at the end of the day, it's still about 4% lower than the state unemployment rate. So we are blessed immensely here in Greater Hattiesburg. Switching over to just a few brief announcements. Our programs and services are rolling at the ADP on the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development side of the equation. We'll start off with the Small Business Leadership Award Luncheon. That is coming up on Wednesday, June 24th. Another one of our state representatives, Representative Kent McCarty, will be the keynote speaker. Again, Wednesday, June 24th. It will be a virtual event. So please contact Dr. Lynn Houston at William Carey to purchase the tables. And this will be a Zoom event, but lunch will be delivered to your virtual table at your office in coordination with William Carey when you buy that table. Nominations are still open this week, so please nominate. You can see at the bottom of your screen to be able to click on and nominate folks for the Small Business Award. All right, next, our Membership Appreciation Luncheon will be on Friday, July 17th. And Congressman Stephen Palazzo will be our keynote speaker. This will be sponsored by Coca-Cola and Cooperative Energy. This will be an in-person event, or we intend for it to be in person at Southern Oaks. This will be our first in-person event since the beginning of the pandemic. And as you would expect, we're going to be practicing social distancing and adhering to all the regulations and guidelines implemented by our healthcare and elected officials. So it is imperative that you register for this event. Normally for a membership appreciation lunch, you would just not have to register, but you do have to register because it will be limited to the first 100 people at Southern Oaks. So please go ahead and register. No cost to attend, thanks to our sponsors. But this will be a wonderful event as we honor our ADP members. Next, our Corporate Golf Challenge is also open for registration, and we are seeking sponsors. It will be on Thursday, September 17th at Timberton. It will be presented by Hattiesburg Coca-Cola. So everybody always looks good forward to a good networking event out on the course. But boy, I really think this year, by September 17th, everybody's going to really, really look forward to getting out and playing a little golf and networking with your fellow ADP members. Finally, I would say that even during the pandemic, we are recruiting new members, and we are doing everything we can to retain our existing members here at the ADP, and you can help us in this regard. We have a $100 gift card program. If you have a friend, colleague, someone that you know who would like to join the ADP and really who would benefit from the great programs and services of the ADP, please reach out to Ann Scott Mathis. It's a.mathis@theadp.com. All you have to do is refer your friend or colleague, and if they join, then we will provide you with a $100 gift card to another ADP member restaurant or retailer. So, hey, we're all in it together as we climb out of these tough economic times and the tough healthcare concerns that we've been grappling with. But we greatly appreciate your membership with the ADP, and we look forward to seeing you around town soon. I hope you have a wonderful day and a great week. Take care.